What's up?
What up? Can y'all hear me good?
Yeah, I got you.
Good.
What's up, guys?
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. We just jump right into it if you're ready, Coach.
Sure, absolutely.
All right, perfect. So, Coach, I know a little bit about your background, but the first question I always ask is, how did you get to where you are today?
Yeah, that could be a long-winded answer. To summarize it, I guess I'm a little unique. My path has been unique in our business, and I've been very, very lucky along the way. I'm from Grundy, Virginia originally, which is about an hour away from Pikeville, and after high school, I actually went to play football at Kentucky Christian University in their first recruiting class, and that didn't last very long for me. Just realized that wasn't really what I wanted to do, and came back home and got my associate's degree at a local junior college, and really kind of reset. And during that time, I figured out that I wanted to do something in basketball, and looked at a couple different options in terms of where to go to college, and ended up going to Pikeville, and Pikeville was a place I was very familiar with growing up, and once I got there, was able to meet with Coach Wells and just asked him if I could be part of it. Just wanted to be part of the program, and knew that I needed something on my resume to try to get into college coaching. Richie Riley, who was at Pikeville at the time, talks about now all the time, the golden tickets, and some people get in this business and have golden tickets, and I didn't have any golden ticket. I didn't know anybody that had worked in college coaching. I didn't play. I didn't have any family members or friends that played, and for me it was tough, and got on as a manager with Coach Wells and a student assistant, and he was nice enough to let me be involved in all aspects of the program, really from the jump. I started out running the clock and sweeping the floor and doing a little bit of anything and everything that I possibly could. And as my responsibility grew and Coach trusted me more and more, I was able to get out on the road and just kind of shadow the guys that were the full-time assistants for us, and tried to do my job to the best of my ability, but also tried to learn their job so that potentially I could be ready to take their place or to move on and be an assistant coach or whatever that looked like in another place. And to fast forward a little bit more ahead, I've been lucky enough to hold every position in our program from top to bottom. I've been a student assistant, I've been a part-time assistant, I've been a volunteer assistant, I've been a full-time associate head coach, I was a graduate assistant, and now I'm the head coach here. So it was an 11-year journey to become the head coach, but lucky enough that I'm able to do it in a place that is very close to home for me, a place that's my alma mater, and the place that I began my career. I've really never had to leave in order to be able to move up the ladder and achieve some of the things that I wanted to achieve. So very unique journey, and very lucky to have the path that I've had.
Mm-hmm. So you talked about an 11-year journey. What kept you going throughout that time? To just motivate you to keep making the next step.
Yeah, man, it's tough. This is it was really what I wanted to do, and I can remember early on, right after I first started being a student assistant. I told Coach Wells this is really what I wanted to do. I wanted to coach in college, and at the time, one of our assistant coaches was Matt Hurt. He is the director of operations in Compton, Carolina now. I can remember being at Coach Hurt's apartment, and I wanted business cards. At that time, the thing that they always told you to do and tell you to do was you need to write letters and try to introduce yourself and network and that kind of thing. So I was big on writing letters to people in the industry, and I wanted a business card to be able to include in the letters, because early on, I would just write my name at the bottom of the letter, my phone number and that kind of thing. It was just kind of unprofessional. And I can remember Matt put Coach Wells on speakerphone and called him and asked Coach if we could order me some business cards. And I can remember Coach Wells' response was, well, let's just wait a little while and see if he lasts, see if he hangs around. so be it. I've never left, and that, to me, that's the first key, is that you just got to really, really want to do it to stick with it, because there's a lot of, for most of us anyway, there's a lot of years and a lot of time where, the work outweighs the paycheck. If you're lucky enough to even get a paycheck early on in some of those years. So, being able to grind through those early years, being able to grind through, the tough times, kind of just earning your stripes, so to speak, until you can get to a position of being a full-time coach, and hopefully you're lucky enough to do this for a living. You don't have to do anything other than coach, and once you're able to make it to that point, it's really worth it. But it's hard to keep your head above water. You got to really have a great support system around you. You got to have you got to be very purposeful in what you do, and very purposeful in your journey and your path, and you just gotta keep going, man. Just gotta put your head down, do the work, and trust that the work will take you to where you want to be one day.
What athletes did you look up to growing up?
Obviously when I was younger, coming from the place I came from, Grundy, we didn't really have a ton of great athletes. We had really good high school athletes, but we never really had anybody go professional, or really even that many people go play college basketball for that matter. So, I guess growing up early, you just kind of watch the people that are ahead of you a little bit. You kind of idolize those guys that are playing at the local high school, and the guys that you hope to grow up and be, and you just, kind of in awe of the abilities of those older kids. And then, as you move forward, I was lucky enough, my dad and I, were able to travel around, and watching sports was a big thing for us in my youth. We would go to big basketball tournaments. Out here where I'm from originally, the Arby's Classic in Bristol, Tennessee, is a huge Christmas tournament, and we made it down to the Beach Ball Classic. We spent a lot of time in Myrtle Beach as a kid, so we'd go down to the Beach Ball Classic and watch big-time high school basketball down there. So I would say early on, the majority of the guys that I really idolized and looked up to were guys that I watched in those tournaments, guys that I watched as a young kid, and just, playing college basketball, being involved in college basketball, that was really never on my radar as a kid. That was just not something that people from where I'm from do. And so, being a really good high school player was really what I wanted to do. And, watching the likes of, go back to Keith Bogans, who played at Kentucky, and Joseph Forte in North Carolina when they were at DeMatha Catholic, and, watching Raymond Felton and his Atlanta, South Carolina team, and Sebastian Telfair go head-to-head, and, Rudy Gay in high school, and Randolph Morris go head-to-head. Just some of those big-time matchups that I was able to watch as a kid, really, gave me the opportunity to watch them in high school, follow them then into their collegiate career, and, I guess in a roundabout way, gave me some sort of connection, allowed me to feel some sort of connection to those guys, because, I was able to watch them at a grassroots level, and kind of follow them throughout their career. So there were a lot of guys like that. But, in terms of idolizing, one particular guy, I don't know that I really had that experience, but I did keep up with a lot. And most of the guys that I really looked up to were the guys that I had an opportunity to watch or see, and had kind of seen with my own two eyes.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you've had many great teams over the years. How did that national championship team in 2011 stick out?
Yeah, that was an unbelievable experience. I was that was my second year in coaching. I was an assistant coach with Kelly Wells. Our head assistant was Brett Rector, and we also had Donald Thomas on staff, who I think actually just won the 16 and under Under Armour Nationals for the second time as an AAU coach with Team Thrill on the Under Armour circuit. So we had a really good staff, and had some really good players, man. I don't. At that point in time, we had never made the national tournament under Coach Wells. We thought we had a really talented team, but the Mid-South Conference was very, very talented across the board. And we finished third in the regular season that year, and had been really competitive, and had some ups and downs throughout the year, just like all teams do. But, the top-end talent that we had on that group really separated themselves down the stretch, and our role guys really stepped up and really bought into just the team concept. Vance Cooksey was a phenomenal. He was an All-American for us. He was a phenomenal point guard. He got drafted by the Texas Legends, the Dallas affiliate in the NBA D League at the time. When he finished here, graduated, was a transfer from Youngstown State. He was as good as anybody that we was on the floor in any game that we played. Quincy Hankins-Cole was a transfer from the University of Nebraska, was a four-man for us. Trevor Setti, who ended up having a great career, a Kentucky kid, was a sophomore for us and elevated himself in the national tournament. Justin Hicks from Hazard High School was a four-time all-conference player here at Pikeville and 1,000-plus point scorer, Hall of Famer here at UPike. And he had a phenomenal national tournament and kind of stretch run down the final few weeks of the season. And we had a lot of guys step up late in the tournament, late in the year, that just kind of made it special. And that group put their egos aside, put the agendas aside, and just said, you know what, this is our goal is to win a national championship. And once we got to the national tournament, what we didn't know kind of helped us, in all honesty. We were very inexperienced, and we were just hungry to be there and hungry to try to win. And we knew we were 5 wins away from winning a thing. And once we were able to get that first win over Oklahoma Baptist, who was the defending national champions, with each win came more and more confidence and came more and more buy-in from our team. I can really remember, we beat Oklahoma Baptist in the first round. We beat Azusa Pacific out of California in the second round, and that was the finals matchup from the year before. We've had both of those teams in the first 2 rounds, and we played the number 1 overall seed in the third round, Robert Morris. And, they were unbelievably athletic. They were super talented. They lost 1 game the entire season. And we came out, we really didn't have a great answer for it. So we pressed, we did a 2-2-1 press back to a 2-3 and really, threw them off a little bit, and the zone worked. And we made just enough shots to come out. And then I can remember after that third win, just the entire vibe of the locker room changed. We went from being very thankful for being there, very hopeful that we can win, to finally coming to the realization. You could see it in our guys' body language. You could tell in their approach that they really finally believed that they could actually win the whole thing. And, the rest is history. But that experience is just something that it's really hard to put into words, what that means and what that's meant to our program and our coaching careers. And, it's just a phenomenal experience that I'm very thankful to have the opportunity to live through.
Mm-hmm. Landon, we'll go over to you.
Okay. So, Coach, at Pikeville, you began as a student assistant for 2 years. So what was that experience like as a student, and what things did you look for to help you climb your way up to being the head coach today?
Yeah, it was tough. I took a full load of classes, and I really just bought in. That was what I wanted to do for a career, so I treated it that way. If I wasn't in class, I was in the office. If it was something that I could work on at home after school or after practice, I did it. I lived off campus. I lived in the same little complex that our assistant coach lived in. And he and I spent, most evenings, most afternoons together. And I just spent my time learning how he did the job. At that point in time, he was the closest thing to a big-time coach that I had daily and hourly access to. So I really bought into everything that he was doing and just tried to learn from him. And, I learned really a lot about scouting, learned a lot about recruiting, listening to him make recruiting calls in the evening. Just the way he put our scouting reports together, the way that he communicated with our guys, the academic support stuff that he would help with, just kind of shadowing him constantly. And that's what I spent, 2 years doing as an undergrad, was just making sure that I was available at any point in time that I possibly could be, and doing as much as I possibly could do. Again, not from a naive perspective of thinking that I was going to step right in and be an assistant coach like that, but just from a perspective of, understanding at an early age and early on that I didn't know very much about this industry, and I didn't know very much about what it meant to be a basketball coach at the collegiate level, and just kind of being a blank slate and just trying to learn the right way from the beginning. Had great mentors. Brett Rector, who has recently been the head coach at Salem University in West Virginia, was our full-time assistant there. I mentioned Coach Thomas, who's had a phenomenal career and was a great player at Pikeville as well. And, I've worked with a ton of other really good coaches. Brian Cloman, who is an assistant coach at the College of Charleston, was the full-time assistant coach the year after that, and was the first guy that really took me on a big-time recruiting trip and kind of got me out of my comfort zone talking to recruits and kind of showing me the communication side of coaching. He did a world of benefit for me, just watching him recruit and watching him do his thing on the trail. And just we've had several GAs and different people that I've worked with or worked alongside of that have went on and became great high school coaches, great Division I assistants, great Division I head coaches, and just the opportunity to learn in the office alongside those guys each and every day has been crucial for me.
Yeah, and so you mentioned earlier, I mean, you were pretty much at every level of the ladder at Pikeville. So every so often you kept making your way up. What was it like finally getting that call that you were going to be the next head coach at Pikeville after waiting all those years?
Yeah, it was a dream come true. In all honesty, that was what I had put so much time into, and that was what I had sacrificed so long for. And there comes a time in your coaching career where you have to kind of you kind of have to make a decision. Again, I was lucky enough to stay in one place. I was lucky enough to stay at Pikeville the entire time and, work there. And there were certainly times throughout my career there where I was faced with the decision of, do I go somewhere else and be an assistant coach? Do I pursue other head coaching opportunities? Do I, get outside of the business and do something? And decided to stick it out at Pikeville and kind of realize those dreams. So, it being my alma mater as well, had kind of been something that, over the, last couple of years prior to me becoming the head coach, just prior to COVID, I kind of come to grips with the fact that, at this point in my career, I'm 10 years into this thing, and I put a lot of equity and sweat equity and just hard work into this program and building it and helping build the program with Coach Wells and helping build our brand nationally, locally, regionally. And, I kind of came to grips that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to stick it out at Pikeville. And I loved working with Coach Wells. He was phenomenal as our head coach and a phenomenal boss to work for in that capacity and as our athletic director for the last 3 years. But, just decided that was what I wanted to do. Decided I wanted to stay at Pikeville. Decided I wanted to help Coach Wells continue to build that brand. And if an opportunity came knocking, then I would assess it and see if that was what I wanted to do. But I wasn't going to go out and chase other opportunities. I was going to kind of wait my turn and just continue to invest into U-Pike and everything that U-Pike had given me in the past. And, getting that call and getting that news and the opportunity to kind of lead my alma mater now and step into a program that I had invested so much into, it's exactly how I drew it up and exactly how I would have drawn it up if I'd had my choice to do it any other way. So very thankful to have the opportunity that I have. Lucky to have, been able to lead us for the last 3 seasons and, looking forward to continuing on, for many more.
Yeah, so earlier I was reading up on your bio on Pikeville, and it mentioned that you've helped over 22 athletes continue their careers past college. What is it like developing players over their time in college and then seeing that development pay off as they sign pro contracts?
Yeah, and there's a lot of different levels to becoming a professional, and I think that was something I was naive to when I was early in my career and before I really got into this was, you just kind of think professionally, you don't really think about the other options other than just the games you see on TV or you hear people talk about overseas, but you don't really understand the levels to that. So, we've been lucky to have several guys go on and be in positions to really make a career out of playing basketball. And, KJ Manigault is the first one that comes to my mind. He was the 2015 NAIA National Player of the Year and just finished up another season in Taiwan and is making a great living, has a great following there, is very successful. He's had a very, very good career and makes very good money and is able to support his family with playing basketball. Quincy Hankins-Cole, we talked about off the national championship team. He's still playing to this day overseas as well, over a decade long. And we got a lot of other guys that have done that too. And then you also have some guys that go into some entry-level leagues and realize that's really not for them or, maybe are in situations where they've got to play their way into bigger contracts or play their way onto bigger teams and bigger leagues. And maybe their clock just runs out. Maybe, they've got responsibilities back here with children or family or whatever that looks like, and they kind of got to hang it up a little sooner than what they would prefer. But, it is very satisfying knowing that you get guys that come in and you ask them, what do you want to get out of this? What is your long-term goal? And most of those guys, have some sort of dream to have the opportunity to play professionally and kind of have some of those dreams realized. And when you get the opportunity to help one of those guys reach that dream and get them to the finish line, so to speak, of all the hard work that they put in, it is very satisfying. And having a very small part of that, is gratifying as a coach, just because you try to find your why. You try to find the things that make coaching fun for you and make coaching worth all the hard work. You talked about earlier what helped you stay in it, what helped you to get through the early points and early times, and it's finding your why, and it's finding the things that are beneficial to you and the things that bring you joy as a coach. And wins and losses are certainly a huge part of what we do, but if your identity is solely based on the results of the games, then you're going to be a short timer in this business. You're going to lose a lot of games, you're going to have a lot of tough times, and that's just going to be part of it. So you got to make sure that you find different avenues, find different ways that make this career satisfying for you, and seeing those guys realize their dreams, whether that's playing professionally or getting their degrees or doing whatever it is. That's certainly one of the satisfying pieces for me as a coach.
One of the things I always find interesting when talking to coaches is always asking about their different coaching philosophies and all the differences between each of them. So what is kind of your coaching philosophy whenever you're the head coach of the team?
Yeah, I think you've got to be adaptable. I think, especially at our level, you kind of have your baseline of some of the culture buzzword type things that you want to be about, some of the behaviors and some of the standards and that kind of thing that you try to get across to your guys early and you try to be about throughout the year. But in terms of just philosophy of on the floor, X's and O's, those kinds of things, you've got to be able to bend a little bit. You got to be able to go with the talent that you've got. At our level, you never know. You never know if you're going to be able to get the exact kind of guys that you want to fit in exactly maybe the way that you would draw it up if you had the opportunity to. So you kind of got to adjust to the guys that you're able to get and the talent that you're able to get throughout the recruiting process. And, sometimes you may have a bigger team, sometimes you may have a smaller team, sometimes you may shoot it well, sometimes you may need to get it to the bucket. And I just think, I think having the ability to be adaptable is a philosophy that most coaches need. And I think the longer you do it and the longer that you're in the business, I think the less tied to a system that maybe you become, especially if you do it at the small college level for a long time. I think you got to be open-minded and you got to be willing to try some different things out. We do have some general outlines that we like to try to get early. We do like to play fast. We do like to shoot threes. We do like to pressure a little bit. We do like to play up tempo. We like to do those kinds of things. Some of our best teams, as an assistant coach and now as a head coach have come when we've been a little guard heavy and we keep that in mind on the recruiting trail too. But at the same time, if we can get a big time talent inside, we'll pound that thing inside and score it at the basket if that's what the advantage is. So, for us, philosophy wise, in the recruitment process of just character and off the floor things, I think that's probably where our philosophy changes less than on the floor. Off the floor, we're going to recruit really good dudes. Like, we want good guys that really love to play. We're very demanding here. We take a very professional type approach. We need guys that want to get better, that want to work at it and really love to play. We need guys that are competitive and really want to practice and work out and just find joy in basketball. And we don't want it to be just something that they do. We want it to be something that they need to do. And, academically, we don't take, there was a time where, to get the talent that you needed to get, you may have to take an academic risk or two. And luckily, we're at a place in the program that we don't have to do that as much anymore. And, we had a 3.71 team GPA this last year. So, we got guys that really get it done in the classroom, guys that graduate, guys that want to be career degree-seeking students, and just guys that like each other, man, that are going to be good teammates. If I've learned, that's probably been the biggest thing that I've learned as a head coach over the last 3 years is just trying to find who I am as a head coach and realize that it's okay that might not be the same guy that I was all those years as an assistant coach. The same kind of guy that I could bring Coach Wells and Coach Wells could work wonders with may not be the same kind of guy that I need to recruit for our program and me be successful with. I've had to learn, what qualities and traits of recruits are there that maybe I coached better, what qualities and traits are things that I really have a hard time coaching. What are some of the things that are just going to be non-negotiables for me that I just can't seem to work around? What are the things as a player that, these 10 players have been the most successful players for us? What do they have in common? What do they not have in common? Should we be looking for more of the things and the traits that have been successful in those players and less that haven't been? Or is that tied to our success? Is that tied to our philosophy? Just trying to answer some of those questions and really find out who I am as a head coach and who I'm able to coach most successfully and who I'm able to mesh with the most. And making sure that we find those guys and put them in a good situation here. That's been one of the biggest things for me as a head coach and probably the biggest part of our philosophy that has grown over the amount of time that we've been the head coach and our staff's been together is just that. It's just trying to learn more about us and trying to make sure that we're doing a great job of matching the caliber of guy with our staff that gives us the best chance to be successful.
I'll turn it back over to you.
So, Coach, you were talking about shadowing and everything. So, over the years, what were some of the most important, things that you got from the recruiting side that helped you stand out in recruiting today?
Yeah, I think just the ability to know your product. I think I think relationships are very important. Obviously, that's the lifeblood of things, and being able to relate to the guys and be able to effectively communicate with guys is extremely important. But at the same time, I think the area that maybe I've excelled the most in, especially early as a young assistant, was just the ability to understand, hey, if I'm going to be responsible for recruiting our program and recruiting successful student athletes, I've got to know our product front to back, inside out. I've got to have more knowledge than anybody about what is good about our program, what is bad about our program, our community, our school. I've got to be able to present that in a way that is appealing to these guys to be able to draw them in. Because as we're Pikeville is a great town. It's a great community. It's a growing town and community. It's isolated a little bit in the mountains of eastern Kentucky, but is a real gem in the mountains of eastern Kentucky. It's a place that once we get guys to Pikeville, we don't lose very many of those guys. It's a place that they can really adapt to and is always better than they think it's going to be as they're driving in through the mountains. So, just trying to find, what sells Pikeville the best, what sells our program the best, what is it that, how can I put that in the best way possible to intrigue these guys the most, to get them to come on a visit, to get them to be interested in us over different places throughout the country. And I think that was probably the number one thing recruiting-wise that I was able to learn early on was just, I think if you're honest with guys, I think if you're knowledgeable about things, if you're confident in the way that you present things, I think it helps with the believability of your pitch. And I think it helps guys really believe and buy into what you're communicating, what you're selling. And, just the confidence that I had in our product, I think was the biggest thing that helped me early on recruiting.
Mm-hmm. So with Coach Wells being like a coaching legend, did you feel any kind of pressure taking the job after him?
Oh yeah, there's definitely that. And, there's certainly here in the mountains and in our region and around our campus and community. It's, Coach, and rightfully so, Coach accomplished things as a head coach here that I think people may have only dreamed of accomplishing at one point in time. He was already a legend in the state when he came to Pikeville and had won the state championship and was a great high school coach. His dad was a phenomenal women's coach at Morehead State University, and his family had been all about basketball and was kind of Kentucky basketball royalty. And I never felt pressure from Coach. He was phenomenal in the transition. having him as my boss, as the athletic director for the first 3 years was phenomenal. Just being able to, he was still there as a sounding board. He was, having your boss understand and have empathy towards some of the challenges that you have, because he sat in that seat and understands some of the things that you're facing, some of the things that you're trying to fight through, was phenomenal for me. But he was absolutely fantastic himself. Now, I will say probably a lot of the pressures that I felt may have been self-imposed. I've always held this program to a high standard, and our successes and our failures, coaches' successes and his failures, I always took those to heart. I always took those as my successes and my failures as well, because we were hand in hand for 12 years, and there was very little that that one of us did that the other wasn't right there with in the thick of it. So we took a lot of pride in being where our feet are, making the big time where we're at, and we took a lot of pride in trying to build this thing up to be as good and as big time as it could possibly be. And trying to keep it at that level has been challenging in terms of just the pressure that you feel from, if things go south, if you lose 2 or 3 in a row, you may hear some chatter, and you may feel some different kinds of looks from people that, especially early on the first year or two, that thought, well, is he cut out to do this job? Is he the right guy to follow coach? And is he going to do a good enough job to keep the program where it needs to be? And we had a great progression. We've dealt with COVID just as everybody else has, and we got hit really hard for really 2 years with that. And that presented some challenges. And I inherited a program that had 2 players in it. We brought in 10 players my first year. We brought in 15 players last year, my third year. We've been able to increase our win total from year 1 to year 2. We went up 5 wins. We went up 3 more wins in year 3, made the national tournament. We're 5 points away from a Sweet 16 berth in the national tournament. And, the progression of our program is right where we planned it to be, right where we wanted it to be. And we look forward to year 4. But, I think our successes have eased some of those pressures a little bit. And if nothing else, have validated, our staff's ability to kind of step in and keep the program where it needs to be. And I think it earned the trust of a lot of the people in the community and on the campus as well, and even nationwide. Some of the people that we deal with in recruiting and different things that kind of had one eye on us, to see how it turned out, to see what happened. I think we earned the trust of those guys by being able to progressively get it to where it needs to be, and to make the national tournament, win big games in the national tournament. And we've had 8 top 25 wins over the course of 3 years. And we've beaten. Last year we finished tied for 4th in the league and had beaten every team in front of us at least once. And we've stood toe to toe with some of the biggest coaching icons at our level, and have been able to come out successful in some of those matches. So we feel good about that, and feel good about where we are, and are certainly more confident in the job that we do now than we were. And that growth and that confidence is, I think, is evident in the results of our program. I think us being confident and us being sure that we can do the job is part of the reason that you continue to see the upward trajectory and progression in the program that you see.
Mm-hmm. So help me out here. What year was it that you all played the University of Kentucky?
We played them a couple times. We played them in 2000 and 2010, 2011, and then we played Kentucky. The last year we played Kentucky was the year that they had the platoons with Carl Anthony Towns and all those guys.
How were both of those experiences?
Yeah, they're great. I mean, obviously those are unbelievable experiences for our guys and for our university. Both times that we played Kentucky, we were on the SEC network, I think, and we're able to have nationally televised publicity for our program and university, and the opportunity to play. You kind of forget about it a little bit. You turn on the TV and you remember that, hey man, like we played against Devin Booker, we played against Carl Anthony Towns, we played against that first year was Brandon Knight and Liggins and some of those guys. We played against Trey Lyles, we played against Louisville. We played Louisville 3 times, and we played against Siva and Russ Smith and Ding and Montrezl Harrell. We played against all those guys. We played Mississippi State. We played Rodney Hood when he was a freshman. Renardo Sidney. We played Tennessee with Josh Richardson. You play some of those bigger games and you kind of lose track of all the big names that you played against. But it's kind of cool when you sit back and can kind of talk to your guys about the experience that they had and the opportunity they had to go head-to-head with some of those guys in a collegiate setting. A lot of them have played against them maybe in AAU or something. A lot of guys come from we've had some guys when we played in Kentucky from Chicago that grew up with Tyler Eulis, and they grew up playing against him. And, Tyler Eulis went to the same high school as Vance Cooksey that we talked about earlier. So, Tyler actually looked up to Vance as a player growing up. And you have some of those kind of connections that make it a little bit sweeter for some guys. But it is an awesome experience to be able to look back and see that, you shared the floor with some of those guys and got to coach against some of the great coaches that we've had the opportunity, Rick Pitino, Coach Cal, those guys. It's been phenomenal. So, those opportunities you never want to pass up on those opportunities when you get it.
Mm-hmm. Who are some of your favorite current players to watch, like in any league today?
Yeah, I don't know that I watch players specifically. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
The older you get, the less time it seems. I've got a 5-month-old daughter, and it just as consumed as you get with your own program. The last thing I do a lot of times is go home and watch more basketball. So, I do like to watch. I try my best to watch when I do watch games, whether it be NBA or college. I do try my best to watch from a fan perspective. And, my wife is always asking, who do you want to win this game? And my answer is always just, I don't care. Like, I want to watch a game and I want to enjoy it. And I don't want to care who wins. I don't want to ride the roller coaster of, okay, well, now they're down 10. I got to be stressed out because they're losing, or getting elated and super, riding the wave of it being up and with a big lead. I just want to sit down. I just want to watch it. I want to see what's going on. I want to be able to drift in and out of paying attention, and I don't want to care who wins the game. So I will say that most of the time when I'm watching basketball now, it's from a fan perspective, and it's from just an enjoyment perspective, of trying to turn it off a little bit and just not necessarily caring who wins, not necessarily caring who does well, just trying to enjoy basketball at its simplest form.
Mm-hmm. Do you have an opinion on the Michael Jordan and LeBron James debate?
I don't, man. That's a fight that, we all hear it 99 times a year in the locker room, every road trip, every team meal, every second that you get 3, 4, 5 guys together, you hear that conversation, that debate. And, it's gotten to a place now where it's hard for me to remember, but it's at a place now where a lot of our players never even got to see Michael Jordan play, and it's a weird concept for me. Sometimes I forget how old I am, but it's different eras, it's different styles, it's different abilities. That's one thing I do try to do now. Maybe I try to be more understanding of while watching LeBron, while watching Steph Curry, while watching some of these players is. I don't know that I've always just respected how good they are. And I don't know that I've always just sat back and enjoyed watching, some of the greatest basketball players to ever play. And, without having some kind of agenda of disliking this player because everybody thinks he's better than this guy, and I don't believe that, or disliking him for some other reason, or just throwing my blind support to another player and tuning everything else out. Like I like to sit back and I just like to enjoy greatness in all forms and just take it all in and hopefully we continue to have guys that continue to raise the bar moving forward. But over the last I'm 36 and over those 36 years, we've been lucky enough to have the majority of the players in that era that we would consider to be, top 40, top 50 players. The majority of those players have played in that era. Just really thankful to be able to watch good basketball with good talent and hopefully not take it for granted.
Mm-hmm. Landon, we'll go back to you.
Yeah, so one of the biggest things that you realize when you start playing basketball is that there's a sense of family that that you feel whenever you make a team. So, what are some things you do as a coach that bring a sense of family to the team, like any team bonding trips, activities, things like that?
Yeah, we do what we call Paul programs, and those are things that we do where we focus things off the floor, and we've had a lot of different alumni speak to our guys. We've had different coaches at different levels and different connections that we've had speak to our guys. We try to teach them life lesson kind of things. We teach them how to tie a necktie. We teach them, how to fill out a check. We make sure they know how to fill out an envelope. Just simple things that a lot of us, think we know how to do, but we don't do very often, and sometimes we forget, or sometimes we just need a little bit of a refresher. So we do a lot of those kinds of things. We do a ton of community service in our community. I think, we go and we read to elementary school kids, and that's really good and super beneficial and ties the education element in. But one of the things that we do that I think really brings joy to our guys is we go, we'll go in the morning to the elementary school and we'll greet the kids as they get out of their cars to come into school, or they get off the bus as they come into school, and just being able to impact their day from the jump and see the impact and the smiles and just kind of how we get them going a little bit early. And I think it's easier for our guys to see the reward and the gratification that comes from lifting somebody else's spirit a little bit, doing those kinds of activities. And we did a team hike. We're right here in the mountains, and the Breaks Interstate Park is they call it the Grand Canyon of the South. It's phenomenal for outdoor activity, for hiking, kayaking, that kind of thing. And we did a team hike last year that a former alumni that I actually went to school with here is the head park ranger there, and he was able to take us on a team hike and took about half the day and was pretty challenging. Our guys kind of had to rally together a little bit and get through it. It was, uphill, downhill. It was hot. It was a good mental exercise and a good physical exercise. And I think the team, the team hike is something that we'll continue to do. And that was a really good day for us, and gives us an opportunity to kind of showcase our area, showcase our region and our community to some of the guys that haven't spent a lot of time in the mountains, haven't spent a lot of time in our area. It's an opportunity to kind of open their eyes and show them a little bit more about what we are just outside of basketball and outside of school, and open their eyes to new experiences. So we went on road trips before. We've taken long trips over Christmas and went and watched NBA games. We watched the Magic play. We watched the Heat play. We try to work in as many of those kinds of things as we possibly can, and especially early on, just to get guys to kind of let their guards down a little bit. And we do it in full team settings. We don't want to develop cliques. We don't want to do it in 4 or 5 man groups and bring them in 2 and 3 groups here or there, or divide them up. We want everybody to do it together, and try to knock down some of those walls and eliminate some of those cliques, and just get them all firing on all cylinders. 1 through 12, 1 through 15, however many we have.
Yeah. So one of the things that you might notice first on when watching college basketball is the environment that is created by the fans. And with you guys being an NAIA, not a lot of people maybe tuned in to watch your games. So kind of describe, what is the community support like at Pikeville?
Yeah, it's great. We're lucky enough to be, the college basketball fix in our area. We're a couple hours from ETSU, East Tennessee State, and Johnson City. We're a couple hours from EKU, a couple hours from Moorhead, 2.5 or so from UK. So folks that want college basketball and college athletics, we're, in our region, in our area, in Central Appalachia, that's, we're kind of the show for them, especially in the Eastern Kentucky portion of Central Appalachia. So we have great support. A ton of the people in our community are alums of our university, so they love to come back out and support. We get great student support from campus. It's really good. There's obviously you have some games where maybe you're playing over Christmas break and there's no students on campus, and you're playing during the work day, and not many people can get to it, and you kind of suffer some of those. But I think if you watch those Division I games on TV, you'll also see a whole lot of empty seats in those settings there as well. So, but our community support is second to none. They always rally behind us. They're interested in what we're doing. They're invested in what we're doing. And I think I've been there for 15 years overall, and this was something that several of us have talked about, the spring and leading into the summer. I think right now is probably the peak in all the 15 years that I've been there in terms of walking up and down the street in Pikeville, going out to restaurants, going out to businesses in the community. I think you see more orange and black on people. You see more U-pipe shirts. You see more real support of our university and our local community than maybe we've ever seen. So it's good to see people kind of, we get out in the community, we get back to the kids, we get back to the different organizations and different things in the community. It's our student athletes that are reading to their kids. It's our student athletes that are attending their Halloween functions. It's our student athletes that are, greeting their kids at school. It's really good to see those people, now supporting us and trying to get back to the people that are impacting their community, not just the people that they see on TV.
Yeah. All right. So you're going out on the recruiting trip, and you're looking at players that you may want on your team. So besides being a good athlete, what are some other qualities that you may look at for potential recruits?
Yeah, we like to see guys that shoot. We like guys that can shoot it. That's always very important to us. We like guys that don't pout. We like guys that have an even keel approach. If you're a lot of times people think about playing emotional or playing with their emotions, being a negative thing and only being when things go bad. But, we like to see guys that are able to kind of keep it together on the high end and the low end. We like guys that are even keel and don't get too high when something good happens and don't get too low when something bad happens. And we obviously like to see guys that are quality teammates, guys that know how to communicate with their team, know how to know how to not just communicate in a supportive way, but also communicate as a player. Guys that are willing to talk a little bit on defense, and guys that are willing to open their mouth on offense, and just kind of talk the game as much as play the game. So I would say shooting. I would say communication ability and just willingness to kind of open up and get out of their shell a little bit, not just be in their own little bubble, and the ability to play, with emotion, but not play emotional, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So as a coach, you have your in-season and your off-season. So what does a typical day look like for you during the off-season versus the in-season?
Yeah, in-season, you're obviously, I'm lucky enough, this is another thing that I've taken from advice from Richie Riley, who's the head coach of South Alabama. He says that there's three things that he does every single day, and it's recruit his team, it's recruit his program, it's coach his team, and it's fight for his culture. And, those are the three things that I try to do every single day. I try to make sure that we're recruiting, that we're continuing to not just recruit new student athletes, but recruit our own guys on campus and make them feel very important, as they are the present. We want to celebrate the present. And, but we also want to be moving forward. We want to make sure that we're not falling behind the recruiting game moving forward. We're going to do whatever we got to do to coach our team, coach our program, coach our guys, whether that's on the floor, off the floor, whatever they need, whatever's needed in that moment and that day. We're going to work really hard to be invested in those guys. That's extremely important. We're going to fight for our culture. We're not going to take a day off from that. We're not going to take a day off from the standards that we put forward. We're not going to take a day off from the way that we approach practices, our workouts, the way that we approach just a daily habit of getting better and improvement. We're not going to take a day off from those things. So those three things are things that I make sure that I do every single day. I'm lucky enough to have a great staff that I could trust with absolutely anything. So in season, there's a lot of academic responsibility. Obviously, our guys are very active in that. Our staff is very active in that. To have a team GPA up over 3.7, we have great students. We have degree-seeking students that are invested in their education, but we also want to make sure that we're doing all that we can to support them and put them in a position to utilize the resources that we have here on campus. We're getting in the gym with our guys. That's very important, too. A lot of times, during the season when you've got practice, your coaches show up, you just walk into practice, you go for an hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever it looks like, and you're done. And we don't want that to be the case here. We want to get in the gym with them during the day. We want to find guys that may be in a slump and get them more shots. We want to work on free throws. We want to, maybe our big men aren't getting a ton of touches in our live segments of practice, so we want to bring them in and put them through some different work. So maybe video work, whatever that looks like. We're very detail-oriented with our prep here, too. So Our assistant coaches are phenomenal in watching the game film, preparing the game film, and then kind of bringing some of those preliminary thoughts to me and us talking through them and coming up with what our final game plan is going to be after we've been able to review the information. But our guys spend a ton of time putting the scouting reports together. We do a ton of personnel stuff. We do a lot of team edit stuff, video-wise. So we spend a lot of time in season on our preparation on a day-to-day basis too. So in the off season, it changes a little bit. Obviously, recruiting is something that never stops. Whether it be for the current year or the next year or whatever it looks like, you're constantly doing that. We have a huge team camp here in the summer. We have 7 different days of I guess, one-day team camp shootouts, and this year we had almost 80 teams, maybe a little over 80 teams in total come to those 7 days, and those things go all day, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. So the entire month of June, along with our youth camp, that kind of encompasses most of our time during the month of June. And then you're just working on different things. You're chasing down documents. You're chasing down transcripts. You're trying to finish your schedule. You're, just a lot of hurry up and wait. We spent a lot of time this week trying to put our gear order together, just, new uniforms and those kinds of things. So you also would like to spend some time, we're getting closer to the point of the summer where I really try to slow some of the other stuff down and start thinking about the upcoming year, start watching some film on what I think this group may be able to do and trying to start to kind of put a rough draft game plan together of our approach and some of the things stylistically that maybe we want to try to do. And you start trying to develop some of those off-the-court things, some of those team bonding things, and kind of get ahead of that and put some of those on the schedule and figure out how to be most impactful with that. So we're getting to a place now in the off-season where we can start really looking ahead to the group that we've got coming in and trying to make that experience and that season as successful as possible.
Yeah, and so kind of my last question before I turn it back over to Turner to finish this out is kind of what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see across coaching at the college level, and not even mistakes or just things that need to be fixed? What are some of those things that you see?
Yeah, I think there's a million different ways to do it. I don't think that none of us know what the other's going through. You never know what you got going on at home. You never know what specific hurdles you've got within your program or with your administration or whatever that may make things easier, may make things a little more difficult. So it's kind of hard on the outside looking in to think, well, that guy's making a mistake doing this guy's making a mistake doing that, just because it may be the absolute best that they're able to do with the circumstances that they have. But I think for me, the thing that I hate to see the most is, young coaches that understand that you need talent. We all understand that we need really, really talented players. Great players are what wins us games. Great players are what wins us championships. But you see guys sacrificing on the character side. You see guys sacrificing to get that talent. And I know from experience here, we've rolled the dice on some guys in the past and have been very successful. But as an assistant coach, some of the hurdles that come with that. Some of the trials and tribulations that come with having to babysit certain guys and having to make sure that hand holding a little bit, making sure guys are getting to class, doing that kind of thing, and maybe a lack of accountability, program wide. You see some guys take players young in their career, thinking that they're going to be able to control that, thinking that talent's going to lead them to the promised land, and really, I think if anything, it leads to burnout. I think just the weight that it weighs on you as a head coach, just constantly having to coach every single minute of every single day with a lot of your guys. The weight on your mind as an assistant coach of, if you want to be successful, you want to move on, you want your program to be successful, you got to get this guy to class. You're knocking on doors, you're waking them up, you're holding their hand, getting to where they got to be. You're constantly having to do room checks because you just can't trust them in these different situations. And that's the fastest way to burn out in this business, in my opinion. It's very hard to find positive value. It's very hard to find reward. It's very hard to see that it's worth it when you have to do those things unless you win super big. And it's really kind of selling out to win a championship, selling out to get a bunch of wins. And if by chance those wins don't come and you're having to coach that kind of team, it can be really, really hard and can give you kind of a false sense of what being a basketball coach should be about, and the impact that you can have on guys. So that would be the only thing that I would say that I hate to see. I hate to see young coaches be put in situations or put themselves in situations where where they're having to deal with some things that can lead to early burnout and kind of lead to a less than enjoyable experience.
Coach, the last segment that we usually do is I do a lot of like basketball in general and like quick hitters. So you've talked about, so with the first one, you've talked about shooting, but you've also talked about big men. With the game evolving to a lot more shooting, of course with NAIA ball it's always been shooting, but with just the game in general evolving to everybody shooting, do you still see the use for the traditional big man still being effective?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we start most of what we do from a 5-out alignment, like a lot of teams do nowadays. But we still utilize the inside a ton. We utilize it. We try to think of the post as an area versus the position. So we try to be open-minded with who we put in the post and then how we're effectively utilizing mismatches and those kinds of things in the post. But a lot of times it is your big man, and I think if you have a great shooting team, I think if you have a very high IQ team and you have a big man that is really successful on the inside, I think you can be really hard to guard. We had our starting five this year was second in the Mid-South Conference, I believe, in field goal percentage. I think it was ninth in the entire country in field goal percentage, and a lot of that was because of the matchups. It was a lot of one-on-one for him. We had had great spacing on the floor and had shooters all around to where when we did get him down there on the block, it was a one-on-one opportunity and he was able to capitalize. So I do definitely think there's still a place for the traditional big man. I do think the traditional big man has to be able to operate on the perimeter a little bit. Doesn't necessarily have to be able to shoot it, but has to be able, be comfortable out there on ball reversals, be comfortable out there operating and dribble handoffs, and obviously ball screen type things out there. But I do think there's definitely still a place for the traditional big man.
What changes would you like to see to any level of basketball?
I think I think our college game is becoming more and more different, and it's becoming different by staying the same. A lot of the different levels are now changing their rules, to mirror FIBA rules or to mirror, whatever. And I don't know that I agree with all of the FIBA rules and all of the changes at different levels. Even high school this year is changing their bonus model, their foul model. So I don't know. I haven't put a lot of time or thought into which ones I do agree with, which I don't agree with. But I would like to see the game move toward more of a universal set of rules. I do wish that you didn't watch college basketball. You didn't watch high school basketball and see something that was totally different than when you watch college basketball. And I do wish that when you watch college basketball, you didn't feel like it was that much different from watching FIBA basketball. When you watch FIBA basketball, it wasn't that much different than watching NBA basketball. I wish we could mirror the game at all levels a little bit more than we do, but I'm certainly not smart enough to be the guy to figure out how to do that.
So whenever we look at these 5-star guys, top 25 in the nation, would you advise them to go to college, or would you advise them to go to the G League Ignite or any of the the professional routes?
Yeah, I think at this stage, and for the guys that are going to be successful, most of those guys are doing this because of the monetary value. Most of those guys have been in a position for a long time now of the monetization of the game being kind of what drives it a little bit. They know that they're going to be able to make money. They know they're in a position to try to make some money and potentially make it to the NBA or make it to some kind of professional league. I think that, with NIL being what it is now at the high major level, you're talking 5-star guys, that changes the pro dynamic a little bit, just because, they're able to pad their pockets a little bit while going to college and having that experience and hopefully improving their stock. So, I think you've seen successes, obviously, in the last couple of years of guys that have went to the G League, Ignite, or whatever it's called, have done overtime elite, whatever that is. They've done those things. They've been, lottery picks. I think you've seen some guys that went to college and, hurt their stock. You've seen some guys that went to college and raised their stock. So, I think there's going to be risk in all of it, no matter what. I think you just have to make the right decision for your family in terms of capitalization on the moment, and if you feel like going to college is your best opportunity to capitalize on your skill set, capitalize on the opportunities that have been laid out for you, and also now the opportunity to monetize it a little bit. The experience of being a college basketball player is probably something that most of those guys grew up wanting to do. They want to be professionals, but the whole G League Ignite concept is new enough now that these guys didn't grow up thinking about doing that. These guys grew up thinking, hey, I'm going to go to college and then I'm going to go to the pros. So I think a lot of guys want to experience the college game, and obviously it doesn't work out for all of them. We had a kid here. I was successfully able to recruit a kid here at Pikeville back in 2014 or 15 named Keala King. He was a 5-star recruit out of high school. He was a top 30 kid, played at Mater Dei in California, and went to Arizona State for a little while and bounced to Long Beach State after that. He ended up finishing here with us. It was an All-American for us. So, you have some 5-star guys that, going to college may not be the best thing for him. Obviously, taking advantage of whatever monetized opportunity he would have had if he were playing in the NIL era would have been great for him. But he all 5-stars aren't created equal. It doesn't work out for all of them. So I think just getting what they can get as soon as they can get it, and is always a good option for them.
Yeah. With specifically with like KHSA and stuff, they're kind of being more relaxed about the rules with like being a resident in like a certain district or county, and even some high schools like making it okay to be to enroll as a non-resident. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's getting, the whole transfer thing in high school has been going on for a long time. Obviously now with social media and everybody being able to kind of have an opinion now and make it public, sometimes those transfers and sometimes those situations garner a little more attention than maybe they used to. But I think it's just at a place where it's really hard. It's really hard to enforce some of the rules. I think it's happening in such an abundance now that you may not have the resources to enforce it in such a manner or in such a timely manner that needs to happen in those kind of situations. I think, the sports in general, athletics in general, is moving more toward, kind of a players' rights movement a little bit, with being able to get name, image, and likeness, and, the transfer waivers and the free transfers and different things. I think you see, a free agency model in some way, shape, or form kind of trickling down through the ranks now into college, and I think we'd be fools to think that at some point soon there won't be more of a free agency model that trickles on down into high school athletics and sanctioned high school athletics. You kind of see the same thing already in AAU a little bit with people kind of jumping around a little bit. So, I think it's going to be hard to guard against. It's going to be hard to keep from happening. And at some point in time, it's probably just going to get to a place where, you're going to be able to go and play wherever you want to play and just do that kind of thing.
Yeah. So, the last part of the episode is, do you have anything that you want to say before we close off here?
No, I appreciate the opportunity to come on and talk with you guys, man. It's very thought out questions and good opportunity to always talk basketball. Never. That's one thing that Coach Wells has always preached and always said is you never say no to a basketball opportunity, and that's something I try to live by. Something I try to work in every single day. So when you reached out and wanted to have me on the podcast, I was elated to do it. Very thankful that you would do that, and thankful to be able to get on here and share a little bit, and thankful for the platform that you guys have put together here for us to share.
Yes, sir. We appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, Coach.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
All right, Coach. We'll let you go. Have a good night.
You too.
All right. See y'all.